Yo, I am back once again with another movie review, man. Yes, I've been trying to do this review all day, but I've been having camera issues and I've been having to do a whole bunch of takes, so hopefully I can get it on this go round. But anyway, man, this is going to be my movie review for Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. Now, if this is your first time coming across this channel, I appreciate you. Any second that you watch of my videos counts. I don't care if it's even a second, man. Like, every single moment that you spend on this life, it is valuable. And for you to spend even a second with me, man, I greatly appreciate that. So thank you. I have uploaded a video not too long ago about why I'm no longer interested in the MCU at this point. You can watch that at your leisure. I'm going to go into some of my reasonings, what I explained in that video here too, but that video goes more in depth as far as why I'm no longer interested in MCU, so you should definitely check that out. But I will be touching on some of those aspects here because that plays into what I think about Doctor Strange. Now, Doctor Strange overall, I have seen the movie twice. I saw it the first time last weekend, and I saw it again last night. And my thoughts haven't really changed from the first time that I saw it, but overall, I do think that it is a good movie. It is a fun movie. It is entertaining, and I definitely enjoyed it. However, there are some major problems, especially with the writing and definitely with other things as well. And one of the things that I guess you could say one of my main gripes with this movie is the multiverse. Now, like I said before, I have a video that I just released talking about why I'm done with the MCU and why I'm no longer interested. And I pretty much go into depth as far as like what my issues are with the multiverse. So I'm not really going to repeat myself here. If you want to know my thoughts on what I think about the multiverse, check that video out. But basically, the whole multiverse idea is pretty much a cop-out. It's pretty much a lazy way for writers to do whatever they want, and especially with Doctor Strange, I definitely see that in this film. There are characters, that just show up, for fan service. And if you've been keeping up with the MCU, and if you're a Marvel guy or a gal, you know who those characters are. You know what particular group or organization shows up in this movie. I'm not trying to spoil anything, but you know what happens in that movie. And mainly for me, what I got out of it, those characters in that particular group that shows up in this movie, they're there for merely fan service. Now, you could pretty much assume that these characters are going to return, but the way that they're introduced is almost as if they're treated as such, as like fan service. Like Marvel just said, hey, people been wanting to see these characters pop up because they haven't seen them in a while. And they know that we acquired the rights to these characters so we could use them in our universe now. So, hey, this is our introduction. And the way that they're introduced and the way, like, their whole screen time, just how they are rolled out in this movie is just there for fan service. And when that scene popped up for me, when I saw that moment, that was the moment for me that made me say, you know what, I'm done. I'm done. Because I see what they're using this whole multiverse shit for. It's just, like I said, merely for fan service, and that's pretty much it. Another big problem that I have with this movie is, the way that it is written. It's very kind of like lazily written, and it's kind of a mess. Especially with the characters. Now, the main villain is actually Scarlet Witch, because her main thing is that, she finds out that she has kids in another universe and she's trying to be with them. So she has to find a way to get to this universe so that she could be reunited with her kids. And this is where the other problem comes in, because you see, with Doctor Strange and with, when you're dealing with witchcraft and sorcery, you would think that they will find a unique and interesting way to travel to multiple universes. And yeah, some of that is touched on in that movie. There are certain things that they use to kind of travel through the multiverse. But the main thing that they use, or I should say the main vehicle that they use to use to travel to different universes is through a character called America Chavez. Now, if you have been keeping up with the MCU, you pretty much know that they have been propping this character up. This character is supposed to be a prominent key figure in the MCU going forward. And this is her first introduction here. And you definitely see that, yes, she is very, very powerful. Now, I don't know in the comics if she has this ability of traveling to multiple universes. I don't think so. So I think that they just did that for this particular reason. They wanted America Chavez to be a prominent key figure within the MCU. And you definitely see that with this movie. And I'm not going to really go into the reasons as to why. There are very specific reasons as to why they want this character to be very prominent. But like I said, I'm not going to go into that here. You could kind of make your guess with that. But yeah, she is very lazily written. She is a very lazy character as far as like how she's written. Like she doesn't really know how to use her abilities. She doesn't know how she's able to travel through multiple universes. She just does it on a whim pretty much. And that's how they pretty much explain it in the movie. They didn't even bother to go into detail as far as how she's able to do this. I guess movies going down the road or TV shows going down the road, we're going to learn more about it or learn more about this character. But for what they've shown so far in this movie about this character, I'm not even interested into learning more about her. I don't care about America Chavez. Like I said, she's a very lazy character. She's not a well-written character at all. She's just there for reasons, and that's pretty much it. And especially her ability to travel through multiple universes is just there for reasons. And the movie pretty much tells you that she's just there for reasons. So America Chavez, she is one of the biggest problems that I had with the movie. Now, I will say that the actress that do play America Chavez, I do think that she did a great job. However, she did a great job for what she had to work with. I don't think that she had much to work with. She was just there. She was there to be used just as like plot device and to just be like a damsel in distress. That's all pretty much what she is. You know what I mean? There's nothing special about her really. They try to make her like this ultra special character because she has this special ability to travel through multiple universes. But overall, it's very lazily done. Like the way how, heroes could travel through multiple universes is very lazily done. One of my other biggest gripes in the movie, and I think this is probably, besides the multiverse thing, I would say this is my biggest gripe with the movie, is how Wanda, Scarlet Witch, is written or portrayed in this film. She is just a total arrogant bitch. That's pretty much, just to sum it up, to oversimplify it. She is just an overly arrogant, selfish bitch who will do anything and anything to get to her kids. She don't care if she has to murder the whole freaking planet. She will do anything to get to her kids, and she is the villain in this movie pretty much. I guess you could say the reason why she is like that is because she has a hold, like the dark hold has a hold of her, and when you start working with the dark hold, it kind of consumes you to be like evil. So I guess she's that way for that particular reason. But still, it's like I don't like to see her portrayed in that particular way because I do like Scarlet Witch and I do love the WandaVision series. That's one of the few things that I like coming out of Phase 4. Out of everything else, that was like the shining moment for me. So I do like WandaVision. I do like WandaVision, but more so I do like Scarlet Witch as a character. However, I don't like her being portrayed as a super evil, bitch, kind of selfish character. Like, I liked her when she was even though she was kind of like that in WandaVision, she's like 10 times that in this one. And it's not only with that, but also with the way how her powers are played out in this movie. Like, she is... Now, don't get me wrong. She was vastly overpowered in WandaVision, and I guess I was kind of blinded by that. I did see it in WandaVision, but I love that series so much that I kind of like blinded myself away from that. Like I did see it, but I didn't really focus on that. But in this one, it was just like, she is just way too overpowered, just completely overpowered to the point to where it's like, okay, if she's fighting somebody, you see her struggling. It's like, I cannot believe that she's like struggling. Like, you should be able to like defeat anybody within a snap of a finger. Like, this is how powerful they portray this character to be. Like, she could do almost pretty much anything. She can go into people's heads. She's almost like a Jean Grey from X-Men. That's pretty much what she is. Like, she has mind manipulation abilities. She could create her own realities and shit like that. She is pretty much an unwreckable force. She is an unstoppable force, especially when she has a hold of the Darkhold. She is an unstoppable force, man. And it's like I said, when she's fighting, you know, the heroes of this film, when she's like, you know, in danger, I don't really believe that she's in danger. I'm like, how you're still, like, why are you fighting with these people? Like, you were like the strongest person in this movie. Like, you could take out people in like 2 seconds. You know what I mean? And you're like putting up a fight with these people, and we all know what you could do. So I don't know. It's like every time that you see her fight, you just don't really buy into it, or you can't. At least for me, I couldn't really be invested into like seeing her fight and whatnot, knowing how powerful she is, because she could take anybody out with like I said, with a snap of a finger. You know what I mean? So I will say that between America Chavez and Scarlet Witch, which is, you know, of course, Wanda, and the whole multiverse thing, those are like my 3 biggest gripes. As far as like the writing issues with the plot and all of that, yes, there are certain, I guess you could say, plot holes and things that just doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? That's also a key part in this too. But for me, the 3 things that really took me aback from this film was the multiverse idea and America Chavez and Scarlet Witch. And not only does that put a hindrance on this film, but I think that it puts a bigger hindrance on the MCU as a whole, because we all know that this whole multiverse plays a big part in the MCU. And I think that with this film, it kind of, for me, it puts a hindrance on, you know, having any sort of interest in the MCU, man. This is why I said in my last video that I'm pretty much done with the MCU. This movie is kind of like a big reason why, because it showed me the direction that Marvel is going in, the direction that they're taking with this whole multiverse thing. It is just something that I'm not completely interested in, because nothing else matters. You know what I mean? That's pretty much what I broke down in my last video. However, you know, going with my gripes and all of that, I know I had some key problems and stuff like that. So you would think that I hate this movie. No, I really don't. This movie is a fun movie, man. There are things that I do like about it. One of the biggest things that I like is the horror aspects. Now, if you don't know, Sam Raimi is the one who directed this movie, and he comes from a horror background. He's known for making horror films. So he was able to put his own horror spin on Doctor Strange, and it plays out well here. Like, almost every scene that had horror elements in it, it plays out super well. It's pretty much flawless, man. And the way how Sam Raimi was able to implement his horror style into the MCU like this is pretty unique, man. I do want to see that a little bit more, even though I'm not really interested in the MCU like that anymore. But still, it's good to see a sort of style that we're not used to seeing in the MCU. And something like horror, using it for Doctor Strange, I think is perfect. And the way it was implemented here, it was perfect. And like I said before, going back to the fun and entertainment aspect, this movie is very fun. I don't think there is a dull moment in this movie. There's not a moment in this movie to where you're like, okay, when is things are going to pick up again? When is something interesting going to happen? Like, I think it's interesting from start to finish. It's just a wild ride, and you're just there from start to end, man. Crazy shit happens and all of that. So I will say, in those aspects, that's what made me enjoy the movie. If those aspects weren't there, I probably would be shitting on this movie. But it was because of the fun and entertainment aspect. As far as the horror elements, that's what made the movie for me. One of my biggest gripes with the movie, and I said this in my last video, I'm sorry that I keep mentioning my last video, but like I said, a lot of the stuff that I said in that last video and this one is kind of shared, so my apologies for that. But one of my biggest gripes with this movie was there were 2 characters that I have been asking for. Not really like 2 characters, but like 2, I guess you could say, franchises within the Marvel comics or within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or just Marvel in general. There were 2 sort of franchises that I have been asking for since Endgame. Like, okay, when are they going to show up? Those franchises are the X-Men and Fantastic Four. I have been asking Marvel, like, are these characters going to show up? When are we going to get our first glimpse of the X-Men and Fantastic Four? Because we all know that Disney has acquired all the rights from Fox. They bought out Fox, so they have those properties back. So after Endgame, I'm just like, okay, this is where we kind of going to get, X-Men and Fantastic Four. I was assuming that they were going to pop up much sooner than where they popped up. But I had been asking for 3 freaking years. If you've been watching my channel, hardly none of you are, but if you didn't know, I've been asking for these characters for almost 3 years. All the TV shows or all the movies past where I thought that they was going to show up, they wasn't going to show up. The closest glimpse that we got before this point, the closest glimpse that we've gotten, or the closest hint or clue to an X-Men or Fantastic Four character was WandaVision when Quicksilver popped up. But we all know that wasn't the Quicksilver that we knew from the Fox universe. It was pretty much a MacGuffin that they used in that freaking series. And yeah, it was like a rug swept under my feet, man. But it was cool when it happened. But it was nostalgia bait. It was fan service pretty much. That's pretty much that. And since then, we haven't really gotten any clue about, okay, when are these characters going to show up? Even with the Eternals, I thought that with the Eternals, that's where, the X-Men and the Fantastic Four was going to show up. And they still didn't show up there because the X-Men plays a key part in the whole Eternal storyline. If you know about the Eternals from the comics, that's where pretty much the X-Men comes from. So I thought that, okay, they were going to use the Eternals to introduce the X-Men, but they didn't. They still didn't show up even then. It took up until this movie, we finally get our first glimpse of X-Men and Fantastic Four. Now, if you saw the trailer, we all know that Professor X, he is in this movie. However, there is another character that showed up that I was completely surprised. Now, I didn't know anything about the plot leaks or whatever, but from what I found out after seeing the movie, I guess this character was leaked as well. He wasn't in the trailer, but he was also leaked. And that character is Mr. Fantastic from Fantastic Four. So we get our first glimpse, our first viewing of, the Fantastic Four pretty much with Reed Richards. He does show up in this movie. But guess what? So they came and it's so they went. They were only there for 5 minutes max and they were pretty much done. They were pretty much dead. And it's that's also another reason as to why I'm no longer interested in the MCU, because I am seeing now that they're going to use this whole multiverse thing as a way just to appease the fans. It's just going to be there for fan service. Hey, you wanted this character to show back up again? Guess what? We could do that with the multiverse. You want Hugh Jackman as Wolverine again? Guess what? We're just going to have him play Wolverine in this one movie as a cameo, and then he's just going to go away. They're not going to matter. So, yes, now that we have, now that we see Professor X and Mr. Fantastic officially, we see, Fantastic Four characters and X-Men characters pop up in the MCU for the first time officially. It's kind of like a cheap fan service type of thing. Even though, yes, we know that they're going to probably play a key part in the MCU and future movies and TV shows, but it's that the multiverse exists. So it's just whatever happens from here really don't matter. And I don't think that they're going to do a good job at depicting the X-Men and the Fantastic Four. I can kind of already see that with Doctor Strange, because they kind of treated them like nothing in this movie. They were introduced and like I said, they pretty much went away. And it's the same thing with the Illuminati. Yes, the Illuminati does show up in this movie, but like I said, it was much like how they portrayed Professor X and Mr. Fantastic. They're pretty much here and then they're done. And you're just like, what the fuck? So, those are pretty much my thoughts overall, man. Like I said, there are some good things with the horror aspects and the fun and entertainment aspects. It does keep you entertained from start to finish. There is some crazy shit that happens, and it keeps happening as you watch the movie, as the movie progresses. It does keep your interest. It does keep you entertained. But those main issues that I mentioned earlier, as far as the multiverse and the character of America Chavez and, the depiction of Scarlet Witch, how overpowered she is, and also, with the introduction of Professor X and Mr. Fantastic, the way how they're portrayed in this film, those are like my biggest gripes with the movie, and it really bogs this movie down. And not only does it bogs the movie down, but it bogs the MCU down to a point to where I'm just like, I'm out. You know, I'm checked out at this point. So that's pretty much my review, man. And yeah, like I said, I know Thor: Love and Thunder is coming out within the next couple of months. I'm thinking about it, man. I don't know. I think from here on out, I don't know if I am going to watch Thor: Love and Thunder at this point, because I already said I'm not really interested in the MCU anymore. So, and I wasn't really interested in this Thor movie to begin with anyway, seeing as how I'm not a big fan of Thor Ragnarok like that. So I don't know at this point. I guess it's going to be like a game time decision, but I don't know at this point if I'm gonna check out that Thor: Love and Thunder movie. I'm thinking about just checking out a Marvel in its entirety and not even not even investing any of my time watching their movies and TV shows at this point, because like I said, it's really no point, man. So yeah, it is what it is, man. That is my review for Doctor Strange. I try to make this as short as possible, but I never could. So if you watch this review in its entirety, I appreciate you. I thank you, but this review is going to come to a close. So until my next one, man, I'm out.